would like to now invite on stage for the opening address Mr. Nitin Jain, CEO, Edelweiss Global Investment Advisors. The business encompasses the entire range of asset management services, including alternative funds, mutual funds, asset reconstruction, as well as wealth management. Nitin, a BTech degree from Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, with a postgraduate in management from IIM Calcutta. He is actively involved with the Edelgift Foundation, the strategic philanthropic arm of the Edelweiss Group, as part of their investment committee. Now I'd like to call on stage Mr. Nitin Jain.
Thank you, Arjun. A very good morning and a warm welcome to the 6th Emerging Ideas Conference. As usual, we have been pleasantly surprised and overwhelmed by the kind of response that we have got for this conference. I remember when we started in 2012, 2013, this was just a small idea where we had around 6 or 7 corporates and around 40 or 50 clients. This time, we are going to have more than 500 of the brightest investing minds who are going to meet 70 exceptional companies, over 3,000 interactions over the next few days. We should probably make this the largest and one of the finest events of this kind in the country. I must also tell you that besides these interactions, the management interactions, we have also got a pretty exciting main track today. So please watch out for our chairman and CEO, Mr. Rashesh Shah, talking to Nilesh in the morning about the economy, and talking to Santosh, who's a very good friend, about credit space in the country in the evening. That's the last event. Santosh always has a very interesting take, very different take. It'll be an interesting conversation. I would also like to thank our colleagues from Bank of Singapore. They're a strategic partner to us. We have had a partnership with them now for a year. They've been kind enough to find time for us, have flown all the way from Singapore today to make an address on concepts around offshore wealth management and family offices. That session will be in the afternoon. There's a lot of disruption happening in the electrical mobility space. There's a session in terms of what are the opportunities, and some of the players who are big participants in that space will be part of that panel. And there's one session that I would be hosting with some of the leading asset reconstruction companies, trying to talk about the role that they have played in the resolution of bad assets in the country. But besides these formal interactions and events, we've also tried to create a little bit of informal platforms for all of you to interact with each other, network with each other, so that when you go back, you're not only carrying some more information, some more knowledge, but hopefully a little bit, a few more relationships, a few more friendships, hopefully. So please make use of that. Now, the last 2 or 3 years have not been particularly great for the Indian economy. When you look at some of the high-frequency indicators, the last quarter GDP, 4.5%, everything indicates a little bit of a slowdown. And we have seen this in India, a reasonably volatile environment. You see periods of high growth followed by periods of desperation, probably which is what we are going through right now. But a lot of our analysts believe that we are probably at the bottom of the cycle, and hopefully the second half of this year should be much better, and the next year should be significantly higher than this year. But what is very interesting though, and you will see this over the next couple of days, within this gloom and doom and not such a great environment, there are quite a few companies which have done exceptionally well. And that forced us to think about what is it that makes them so special that they're able to outperform the market, even in these tough environments. And we try to analyze a lot of the traits, whether it's their business model, it's access to capital, it's the markets that they're playing in, the sectors that they are. But you know what? Eventually, when we studied them, we figured out that there is only one common trait that we could attribute most of their success to. And it was basically the entrepreneur who was running these companies. And what I call the attapattu resilience of these entrepreneurs. Now, some of you might be wondering, what is this attapattu resilience? For some of you who might not know, Marwan Attapattu is an ex-Sri Lankan cricketer. He's had a remarkable career from a Sri Lankan standard, Sri Lankan point of view, in the late 90s and early 2000s. He was a contemporary of players like Sachin Tendulkar and Ricky Ponting. So it's a strange thing that I'm pointing out to Marwan Attapattu and not these players. But just to give you some stats, he eventually ended up scoring more than 5,500 runs in Test cricket, scored 16 centuries, 6 of which were double, captained the Sri Lankan cricket team, which was quite a remarkable thing for the Sri Lankan team in that era. But you know, that's not fascinating. What is fascinating is how he started his career. In fact, I was fortunate to see his debut. It was on television that I saw the match. But his first test match, he scored a pair, a 0 and a 0 in the test match. He was a very talented batsman, very highly regarded. But when you score 0 and 0, you don't have much chance of staying in the team, right? So you get dropped. He was dropped. Went back to the domestic circuit, scored tons of runs. Came back after 2 years, played again. This time, he did much better. He scored 0 and 1. Of course, dropped again. Amazing. Most people at that time would have given up. So he went back, worked very hard again, worked for 2 years, scored so many runs that selectors couldn't ignore him, came back. And you know how much he scored again in the test match? 0 and 0. So in 6 years, he had scored 5 zeros and 1 run. 6 years. At that point, probably the best of the best would give up. He didn't. He continued to work hard, went back after 2 years, came back to the test team, and then he scored, and he scored tons of runs. And that is what I call as attapattu resilience. This grit, this determination to succeed after failure, I think is what characterizes a lot of Indian entrepreneurs. And that's why we like to celebrate Indian entrepreneurship. That's like we like to celebrate Indian entrepreneurs. And that's why we like to celebrate all of you. But how can I end without thanking all of you for making us what we are today? One of the leading wealth and asset management player in the country. We now manage more than 2 lakh crore of assets. Our revenue is more than 2,100 crores. Our profit after tax is around 600 crores. We have won a reasonable number of accolades over the last year and a half, practically every award in the wealth management and the private banking space. But you know, that's not what makes it special for us. What makes it really special for us is the love and affection that we get from all of you. So thank you so much for being here, and welcome you again for the Emerging Ideas Conference.